Hello everybody, welcome to this week's mindfulness practice with the Well Nest. As usual, this session is offered on the basis of pay what you wish or pay what you can, and the PayPal Me link will be added to the description below this video. Any amount that you wish to donate to help these classes keep being posted every week is gratefully received. So this week we're going to take a look at mental states and naming our thoughts. It's a big part of mindfulness that we get to know ourselves. And it's because a foundation of mindfulness is the observation of the mind without judgment, without reaction, but always with kindness, no matter what's going on in there, just allowing everything to come and go and be as it is, without trying to push anything out and without trying to grab hold of anything either. So the way that we get to know ourselves is by becoming the witness to our thoughts and our mental states as they arise and pass away on their own. Just being that patient observer, which we've practiced several times with this series if you're following along. Just being able to watch everything come and go in the mind, and it is a great skill to develop the patience to just watch the mind, because we are, as humans, always trying to act or react to situations to make ourselves more comfortable. So it's in our nature that we get caught up in our thoughts, that we react to those that are unpleasant, and we get lost in those that we find pleasant. So it's through the process of watching and training ourselves to be the patient observer that we start to realise that thoughts are just mental states, and they have absolutely no power over us unless we give it to them. And we give it to them by believing them and being caught up in the stories that they're telling us. So the more we practice just watching and allowing things to come and go, the more we realise that we are in control of our thoughts a lot more than we realise, and it becomes a choice whether we react or get caught up in the stories that they're telling us by believing them, and we can choose instead to allow them to just pass out again of the mind, of their own will. They don't need any action or reaction. They will leave on their own. You probably know from experience that as soon as we do grasp onto a thought, we give it power, and we start ruminating, we start becoming anxious, getting angry, whatever negative mind state follows on. The mind tends to get more and more disturbed the more we start to believe our thoughts and get lost in the stories that they're telling us. And we often find that investing our time and our energy into our external circumstances is where that we'll find happiness. But we know also from our mindfulness practice that that's not the case. And from our experience in life as well, we know that's not the case. We can spend many years investing in trying to arrange our external circumstances to our liking, but there's always something else. There's always something else that we're seeking, something else that we want. And there are many, many things that can interrupt our happiness and go wrong or go the way that we don't expect them to. But if we work on watching our mind and training ourselves to be the patient observer, and we get control over our mental states, we'll find actually that we're more able to choose positive and helpful mental states. And that's where the real skill is, by coming to realise that thoughts have no power over us, and we can choose happiness, we can choose peace and calm over and over again until it becomes our resting place, our place where we spend most of our time. Life will give us challenges, we know this, no matter how much we invest in arranging our happiness, but it is our inner experience that determines our true level of happiness. So by training our minds through a mindfulness practice, we can start to be aware of our mental states, where we spend our mental time without getting caught up with what thoughts are telling us, without listening to the narrative as we do now. And we'll find ourselves more often in the more healthy mind states of happiness, peace and calm. So we'll find that the more we watch our mind, the more we become aware of when we're reacting from habit, from learned experience, or from memory, and when we're acting mindfully. So reacting from habit, hopefully you know by now, reacting from habit or learned experience generally tends to lead to more unhealthy mind states. And we're immediately caught up in whether we like or dislike a situation and step onto the rumination treadmill. So it's our job in mindfulness practice to get to know the mental states that arise most often for us. And we can do that through a practice of thought naming, or naming our mental states as they arise, which we'll come on to shortly. But it's helpful to think of your mind in terms of a train station or a platform. So your mind is the platform, a place of stillness, unchanging, it doesn't move. Thoughts that come and go are the trains passing in and out, moving in front of the platform. But the platform doesn't move, it just watches the trains all day. It doesn't react to the trains that pass by. It doesn't think, that looks like a good train, I'll get on that and see where it takes me. And it doesn't think, that train looks like bad news, I'm going to avoid that train. It just stops, it watches and it waits patiently and peacefully, no matter what enters the station and what leaves. Because all of the trains that do enter, good or bad, will leave eventually when it's time to. So what we find in reality is that when particular trains enter the station, and our mind being the platform, sometimes we do form an attachment, either a like or dislike to the thought trains that enter our mind, and we do get on the train. And sometimes we're gone for half an hour, sometimes we're gone for several days, caught on this train of thought. And that's okay, it will happen. It's the nature of our mind to wander and be caught in thought. But the process of training is just noticing as soon as you've got on a train of thought, patiently and kindly stepping off that train as soon as you realise, and becoming the platform once again. So coming back to just watching, just being that place of patience and calm. And it doesn't matter how many trains you might get on, as soon as you notice, you get off and you come back to being the platform. So our practice today of thought naming is to deliberately and consciously name to ourselves the thoughts or mental states as they arise. It's a great way to cut off thoughts and to prevent your mind from wandering and following those thoughts. If you name it to yourself silently, you can find it much easier to let go of the thoughts that arise. So we'll start in our meditation posture, and I'll talk you through the process of naming thoughts. So bring yourself into your comfortable meditation posture, feet are flat on the floor and your back is straight but not tense. Hands resting in the lap, one hand on top of the other with the thumbs gently touching either way, or palms up, palms down in the lap, whichever feels more natural and comfortable as long as your shoulders are supported. Look down towards your knees and gently close your eyes when you're ready. You can leave a small amount of light entering through a gap in the eyelids if you think you may become sleepy during the meditation practice. And we'll start by consciously relaxing the body, so letting go of any tension caused by mind states that we may have brought with us to today's practice. Using each out breath to relax from the top of the body, working downwards, relaxing the forehead and eyebrows, relaxing the jawline by parting the teeth. Feel the whole of your face softening. Breathing out tension from the neck and shoulders. The shoulders relax downwards. Be aware of your belly, let the belly become soft and relaxed. Feel the weight of your hips and your pelvis sinking into the chair. Let your legs find their natural position as you soften the muscle tension and let the legs rest. Bring your focus now inside the body onto watching your breath and the natural breathing pattern. Feeling the chest and the belly rising and falling. And feeling the air as it passes in and out of your nostrils. Remembering if you find yourself distracted or the mind is wandering, gently letting go, bringing yourself back to the breath, refocusing all of your attention and awareness onto the breath. As we move into the process of naming thoughts, we'll start with a generalised naming. When you find yourself caught in thought, just say to yourself, thinking, and then return to focus on the breath and to just watching all that arises in the mind and passes away. All those things that arise in your awareness, and take your attention, just label them thinking, and bring yourself back to just watching, feeling the breath, being the observer of everything that arises and passes away. As you continue to name the process of thinking, try to become more aware of exactly what is arising in your mind. What type of thought, what kind of mental state. Notice how it makes you feel, and keep naming it thinking, allowing it to pass away as you come back to being the observer, settling using the breath and just watching all that arises. Start to move your focus from the general to the more specific. As you watch thoughts arise, any that catch your attention, you find yourself being taken away. Try and name exactly the mental state that has arisen. Perhaps it's irritation, perhaps it's sadness, perhaps it's a form of happiness. Start to name more specifically the mental states that are arising as they enter your mind. You find yourself carried away by memories. Just name the way that they make you feel. Once you've named the mental state that has arisen, let it go. And bring yourself back just to being the observer. As you sit and practice, get to know yourself and the mental states that arise most often for you. Keep that process of naming going. Whenever you're caught in thoughts, noticing where you've gone, naming the mental state that arises. Using the naming process to cut off the train of thought, to let go, come back to watching, back to being the observer and just feeling the breath. Knowing that the thoughts have no power. Mental states do not control you. You can choose to let them go. Name them and let them go. Start to slowly relax your mind, coming back to just mindfulness of breathing, watching the breath in and out. Rise slowly from your practice, opening your eyes. This practice of thought naming can be done during the day as well as during formal meditation practice. As soon as you notice that you've been taken away, your peace has been taken by a train of thought, just name the mental state that's arising for you. Name how it makes you feel, whether that's worried, happy, sad, whatever might be arising. Just name it and allow it to be let go of. Come back to peace. This practice is a really great one to try over and over again, because the more that you get used to thought naming, the more you'll know what tends to visit you most, where you spend a lot of your time, your thought time. And it's a good way to train the mind and allow yourself more control over the mind and more choice in where you spend your mental and emotional time. And as Jack Cornfield says, we can choose whether we're at peace or whether we go to war. So whenever you notice that there's a war raging in your mind, just choose peace, name whatever is arising, step off the train, come back to being the platform, and back to being at peace. The more you do this, the more time you will find at peace and in a state of calm and happiness. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next week.